Let's be real for a second. Have you ever just stopped and asked yourself the biggest question there is? What on earth am I here for? It's a question so fundamental, it became the subtitle for one of the best-selling books in history, Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life. Today, we're going to dive into the core ideas of this book and see how it tries to answer that one universal question. And that's really the question at the heart of all this. According to the book, this isn't just some philosophical thing to ponder. Nope, it's the absolute starting point for a meaningful life. Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on how you answer it. So where do most of us go wrong? All right, so what's really driving your life? The book's first big idea is that if you don't intentionally choose a purpose, your life is going to get guided, controlled, and directed by something else. And a lot of the time, those forces lead you straight to a dead end. Let's take a look at what some of those wrong things might be. So take a look at these. Do any of them kind of ring a bell? The book points out that guilt forces you to live in the past. Fear? That just keeps you from taking risks and grabbing opportunities. Materialism is this endless treadmill of just wanting more and more. And the need for approval? Well, that means you're basically letting other people's expectations run your life. Every single one of them, the book argues, is a dead end. And wow, this quote from Thomas Carlyle, which is featured in the book, it just hits the nail on the head. The man without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder, a waif, a nothing, a no man. Without that rudder, without that purpose, you're not just directionless, you're adrift. You're just getting pushed around by the waves of whatever, circumstance, guilt, fear. You're not actually going anywhere. So how do you find that rudder? Well, this brings us to the solution the book offers, a massive foundational shift in how we even approach this question of purpose. The argument is that most of us have been looking for meaning in completely the wrong place. And to find it, we have to start from a totally different perspective. And here's where the book really flips the script. Think about it like this. You didn't create yourself, right? So how could you possibly tell yourself what you were created for? The book uses this great analogy. If I hand you some new invention you've never seen before, you can't figure out its purpose just by staring at it. You'd have to ask the person who made it, or, look for the owner's manual. So the book basically says we have a choice between two paths. Path number one is speculation. This is the whole world of self-help, which the book calls no help at all for this specific question, because it starts and ends with you. Path number two is revelation. You start with the Creator, with God, and you look to his owner's manual, the Bible, for the answers. And this, right here, this is pretty much the central idea of the entire book. The argument is that your purpose isn't something you just invent. It's something you discover by understanding where you came from. It's not about self-actualization, it's about God-actualization. Okay, so let's say you do this. You make this huge shift in perspective. What's in it for you? What's the payoff? What does a purpose-driven life actually look and feel like? Let's break down the 5 key benefits that the book outlines. All right, here they are, the 5 big benefits. First, it gives your life meaning, and that brings hope. Second, it simplifies everything, especially your decisions. Third, it focuses your life and your energy. Fourth, it motivates you with a real passion. And finally, number 5, it prepares you for what the book says comes after this life. That point about focus, it's a really powerful one. The book compares it to light. Diffuse light, spread all over the place, has very little power. But you focus that light and boom, it becomes a laser beam, a laser that's powerful enough to cut through steel. A purpose-driven life, the book says, has that same kind of incredible, focused energy. And that's the really practical side of all this. Your purpose becomes your go-to filter for everything. When you're facing a decision, whether it's big or small, you just ask yourself, does this help me fulfill my purpose? If the answer is no, it's easy to say no. And that just cuts down on so much stress and conflict and that feeling of being totally overloaded. Okay, this brings us to the final and maybe the most mind-bending idea from the book, preparing for eternity. This concept asks us to reframe not just our day or our year, but our entire existence. It's about taking on what the book calls the ultimate perspective. And wow, this is a huge shift in thinking. The goal isn't to build some legacy on Earth that's just going to fade away eventually. Instead, the book claims the real goal is to build an eternal legacy, to use this life as the preparation for the next one. And this metaphor they use, it's perfect. Life on Earth is just the dress rehearsal for eternity. It really drives the point home. This right now, this isn't the main event. It's the warm-up lap, the practice session.
And when you start to see your time here as a temporary assignment, it changes everything you value. All of a sudden, things like your relationships and your character become way more important than fame or how much money you have.
So, okay, if this whole life is just prep work, what are we prepping for? Well, the book frames it as a final exam, where God is going to ask two crucial questions that basically summarize everything we've been talking about today. And here they are. The first question, according to the book, determines where you'll spend eternity. What did you do with my son, Jesus Christ? The second one determines what you'll do in eternity. What did you do with what I gave you? Your talents, your opportunities, all your resources. The entire book, really, is designed to get you ready to answer those two questions. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought for you. How would you answer them today?